Hello and welcome back. It's puzzle time with Sudoku Sleuth, and today we're playing I Wouldn't Count on It. I think it's meant to be I Wouldn't Count on It, Pip, but I just wanted to keep the title somewhat short and actually fit in on the screen. Now, obviously when you have a title like I Wouldn't Count on It, here we have Sleuth, dreaming, of course counting sheep, which is what everybody does when they're sleeping and dreaming, just lots of sheep jumping over fences. That's my story and I'm sticking with it. So we're back to weekday puzzles, so it's an approachable one. This is a 1-star difficulty rating, and that's probably enough of an introduction. Let's take a look at today's puzzle. We have I Wouldn't Count on It, Pip, by I Already Have a Key. Okay, I think I should have tried to incorporate that somehow into the picture today. Right, what do we have in here? Sorry, I was a little bit stumped there because it doesn't actually say normal Sudoku rules apply. I'm going to assume normal Sudoku rules apply, otherwise we're really going to have a difficult time here. So let's just go with I assume normal Sudoku rules apply, and that means place the digits 1 to 9 once each in every row, in every column, and every 3x3 box. Then we have killer cage rules, so digits in cages sum to the total in the top left corner of the cage. So for example, these 3 cells, and I'm picking these 3 because they're outlined by a dashed line, must sum up to an 11. These 4 are 11, these 2 are 11, and so on and so forth. Then we have numbers outside the grid with an arrow. So yeah, we actually do have 2 types of numbers outside the grid. So you can see this 11 here has an arrow, and essentially that's a little killer clue. So it indicates the sum of the digits in the direction of the arrow. So that would be a sort of standard little killer. These 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cells must add up to 11. And these 2 must sum up to 11. These 3 must sum up to 11. You can tell which ones are the little killer clues because they have that arrow pointing at a diagonal of some shape. Then we have sandwich clues. So numbers outside the grid without an arrow are sandwich sums and give the sum of the digits located between 1 and 9. So here's an example of an 11 that has no arrow, and therefore it's a sandwich clue. So if this cell was a 9, and all the way up here was, let's say, 1, then essentially these 3 cells, which is what is between the 1 and the 9 in this column, have to sum up to 11. And same will be true for this 11 and this 11. That's all the rules we have for today. So relatively common Sudoku variant rules. Clearly, we're not counting on 11 for some reason today. I Already Have a Key has it in for that number. Now, hopefully you slept well on Sunday night and you're up for counting, in which case link is in the description down below for you to play along. And with that said, I'm going to restart the clock and see how I get on. And I'm going to say I get on fabulously, because I can see 11, 11, 11, 11. That's 4 cages of 11. They sum up to 44. And because Sudoku rules means that there is the digits 1 to 9 in every row, and if you sum them all up, they are 45. So that means this is a 1. Another way you can look at it is you couldn't have put a 1 anywhere in these 11s because they would have to be joined with a 10. So that was definitely a 1, and we have a digit in under 30 seconds. 11 in 4 cages, 4 cells, is forced. It can only be 1, 2, 3, and 5. If you try any other combination of numbers, you're either going to be short, if you go with 1, 2, 3, 4, or too big, because this is the only unique set of 4 digits that can add up to 11. And it really isn't enough. Maybe little killer clues, such as this gigantic clue that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cells. That is. So if I try minimums, that's 1, that's 1, 2, that's 1. I guess delete these. These would be 1, 2. What does that add up to? So that's 3, 6, 9, 10, 11. That's forced. So that's 1. That's 1. That 1 tells us that's a 2. That's 1. That 2 tells us in the 11 cage that's a 9. That one somewhere out here, I'll come back and explain that in a second, is a 9. Do I know anything else? Yes, these are not 1s or 2s. In fact, that one gives us a 2, then a 1. And neither of these are 1s. Neither of these are 1s. I'm going to say this has to be the 1. And I just want to think about it for a second. I'm not sure it's forced, because I could easily have a 1 here and then a 1 there, and I don't think I've broken any rules. And then conversely, I could have a 1 here and then a 1 inside the 11 cage, and because it's 3 cells, I think that would be fine. So can't disambiguate these. Right, sandwich clues. So 11, yes, you can do it in 4 cells. We've just demonstrated. But the challenge with sandwich clues is the 1 and the 9 are not available. So the second that you no longer have a 1 as part of the equation, the 11 has a maximum of 3 cells. So that's 1, 2, 3. That's the absolute maximum. So potentially this would be a 9, and these 3 cells add up to 11. The other option, of course, is it could be 2 cells, like many of these cages that we have here. Clearly, it's not 1 cell. We're not going to have an 11 in one. So it could be 2 cells are adding to 11, and therefore this could also be a 9. So a 9 is in one of these 2 cells. 9 is in one of these 2 cells, just Sudoku. Pretty sure it can't be in here, because that would mean I need double 1, which isn't available. That's a 9. Right, what else can I see? Maybe this little killer clue? Probably. So if I try minimums again, that would be a 3 as a minimum. Presumably I could do 1 and 2. So that would be 6. And then another 2 in here. And that would be 2 and 3. 2, 3, 5, 8, 11. Yep, that's forced again. That's 1, that's 2, that's 3, that's 2, that's 3. That 3 means that's an 8. That 3 means that's not a 3, that's not a 1. We know where the 1 is, it's in here. We know where the 1 is, it's in the 11 cage. We have 2 cells that add up to 10 to get us to 11 in this cage. Okay, have I? Oh, yeah, this little killer clue, that's a 9, because we already placed a 2. I'm just going to check out all the little killer clues just in case I've sort of solved them all at this point. So minimum this can be is not 1 or 2, is a 3. And again, 1 or 2 is another 3. So the minimum these are is 3, 4, which is a 7. Which I think is too, I mean, it's too small for a 2 and too big for a 5. And remember, that's the minimum, because both of these cells are seen by the 2. So I can't have a 5 in here. That is a 2. And then I have 2 cells that add up to 9, which is either now, because 1, 8 is not available, 2, 7 is not available, it's either 3, 6 or 4, 5. 2, 3, and 5 are looking at this cell. That's not 3 or 5. And therefore this is not 4 or 6. We've got a 3, 5 pair now in this column. We'll figure out what that does for us in a second. So we pretty much use all the little killer clues at this point. What I'm thinking now is maybe, this is what I should be doing. So these sandwich clues are going to be helpful. And I'm looking at this 11, and I'm thinking, well, the 9 clearly is not here with an 11 in between it. So the 9, as we've described, is essentially either can't be 3 cells. And the reason is I can't use 1 or 2, and therefore the minimum in the 3 cells will be 3, 4, 5. Too big. So the 9 has to be here. I'm only allowed 2 cells. The 2 cells that add up to 11 are not 2, 9. It could be 3, 8. Let me just tidy this up quickly. So it could be 3, 8 in this direction. It could be presumably 4, 7 and 5, 6. So tons of options. I'm not sure I should be pencil marking, if I'm honest. Then we actually have a 2 this time between now this 11 cage. Sorry, this 11 sandwich clue. So one option is that would be, no, I can't do 2 and 9, because that would be in between it. That would be a sandwich sum of 2. Therefore, I need 3 cells, and this is a 9, and I need 2 cells that add up to a 9 because, 11 and 2 means that these two add up to 9. Well, it's not 1, 8, it's not 2, 7, it's not 3, 6, it is 4, 5. 4, 5 in here means that's not a 5. I really thought this would be more helpful, but actually, how about this sandwich glue? This 11 means that's an 8, because these two have to add up to 11. This now, we'll have a look at where the 9s are. They're not in here. It's in one of 2 cells, and it can't be in the same box, so it's forced to be in there. And then I need 2 cells that add up to 11. And I'll come back to that in a moment. I just want to think about this 11 cage for a second. So we know that this is not 4 or 5. So the options that we have remaining are 7, 4, and 5, 6. And 4 or 5 are not here. So the option could be 6, 7 with 4 or 5. And then obviously all options here are valid with 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't think I can resolve this. I probably should think about what this is. It's clearly not 2, 9. It could be 3, 8. The 3 would be in here. That would be the 8. 4, 7 is a possibility because of the 4, 5 pair. That would be the, well, I mean, it would be the 4, 5 and the 6, 7. Let's just shortcut this whole thing. Essentially that setup. So essentially between these, no, we can still have 3, 8. For a second there, I thought essentially I have a quadruple of 4, 5, 6, 7 between these cells. That's not entirely true. Okay, 1, looking at this cell, that's 2, that's 1, that gives me a 5, that's lovely, that's a 3, that's a 2. That 5 gives me a 4 and a 5 in here. That's not, so these need to add up to 11, so that's not 4, therefore that's not 7, and this is not 5, therefore that's not 6. Have I removed anything else? No. That 5 gives me a 3, a 5, a 3. These add up to 4. That has to be a 7 to add up to 11. Still not enough. It's like you're making steady incremental progress, but it doesn't really ever feel enough to just finish the puzzle. Right. What are these cells? So we need 4, 6, and 8. You can see the 8 is not in this cell, not in here. That's an 8. That's a 4, 6. We essentially have 4, 5, and 6 to complete the column. Unfortunately, nothing looking at this cell to reduce the options. 4 and 6 means these are known. They are 7 and 8. The 7 would require a 4, possible. The 8 would require a 3, possible. The 11, no. Probably a bit of Sudoku to tidy things up, maybe. Such as, have I done all the 1s? Yes. Have I done all the 2s? Nearly. That's a 2. That's a 2. Therefore, that is all the 2s now. 3s. Not quite either. So one of these is 3. And again, one of these is 3. Got an X-wing on 3 now. So 3 would be in row 5 in box 6. It's clearly not this cell. So one of these is a 3. And therefore, this is actually a 4. And a 7. And an 8. And 4, 6 in here. Now that 4 removes options. That was the 4, 7 option. Still hasn't fully eliminated everything. That 4 is gone from here. I still need a 7, which is going to be in one of these 2 cells, so it's not enough. That 4, 7 means that's not a 4, that's not a 7. Still have 5, 8, and 3, 6 possible. You know, these puzzles really do take you by surprise sometimes. They essentially come along and you think, oh, this is going extremely well. And then halfway through you think, that got harder all of a sudden. 7s, you can see this is the only place for it. And then these are from 4, I'm going to say 4, 6, and 9. That's not a 4. That's not a 9. That could be anything. Then to complete the row, I need 6 and 4. That 4 gives me an order. That's a 4. That's a 6. That gives me the 3 and the 8. 8 isn't an option, so I'm not eliminating anything from here. I mean, that's not a 4 though because of that 4. That's not a 7 therefore. We know what these are. This is 8 and 5 and 8. We've placed a 3 here. That means that's not a 3. That's a 3. We know what this cell is. That's a 5 to complete the column. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We need 6, 7, and 8. That 8 can't be in these two cells. That's an 8. That actually does open things up because it gives me a 5 up here, an 8 there. That's not a 5. This is now 6 or 7, and therefore this is 4 or 5, so not a 6. Still not enough. Okay. You can see 4 and 5, they're not in this cell. They do need to be a pair, so that's the second one. That's 4 and 5, and this is now 6 or 7 just to complete the box. We have a second 6, 7 here with an 8. That 8 tells me an order. That's an 8. That's 6, 7. We have a 6, 7 and a 4, 5, and I don't know which is which. So I'm not going to necessarily label that. I have a 6, 7 in here with a 9. I still don't know where that is either. Interesting. Okay. Have I resolved these? No. Let me just check which clues are still not done. Oh yeah, that 11. That's a 5. That's a 6. That's a 4. That's now a 7. That's now a 6. That's a 7, that's a 4, that's a 5. That has to be 5 and 6 now. That 7 gives me a 6 and 7. I think I was going to say, other than this sandwich clue, glad I sort of checked for the clues. I think all the clues are basically done except for this sandwich now. Yes. So we'll just sort of need to remember that we need to check this if we ever get stuck again. That 6 gives me a 4 up here. That's not a 4. These 6 9s are not resolved. That 5 gives me this 6. That's therefore a 3 and 8. The X-wing is resolved. All the clues are used. It's just Sudoku now. So we need here 5 and 7. That 7 gives me an order. That's 7. That's 5. I need a 4. That 4 tells me what it is. That's a 4. That's a 6. That's a 9. Therefore, that is a 6. That's a 9. That's a 7. And unless I've made a mistake somewhere, we're basically on the home stretch now. That's a 5. That's a 7. And if I've not made any mistakes, that's a 3. No, not the 3. A 4 for the finish. There we go. Have a heart. I already have a key. Thank you so much for the lovely puzzle for a Monday morning. Hope that you guys enjoyed the puzzle in the video. And see you back for the next one. Bye-bye for now.